this is Rosine and Your Story, My Inspiration podcast. Guess what? Today the Keza is really back.
Hi everyone.
How are you, Keza?
I've been good. How are you?
Good. How was the drive?
It's long. It's like an hour and some minutes, but it's okay.
I know.
I'm glad to see you though.
I know. I'm glad that you came and I'm
Yeah.
glad that we have this conversation again. And to be honest with you, last time we had that conversation, like the interview we had last time, it was pretty good and people liked it. That's why she's back here.
Yes.
So we've been talking about like genocide awareness and stuff, and she's from Africa, and we have commonalities of stuff that we went through together. Today we're just gonna have a conversation and see together what is genocide is, her experience, so we can share and learn. Because if I was in Rwanda, somebody like Rwanda is a big country. I was in Kigali city or Gitarama, or somebody else was in Kicukiro, stuff like that. She was in Congo, so we're gonna just see what her experiences, what she went through, what lessons to learn from this successful story. We have resilience, we have moved forward, we moved on, and that's why we are here to tell our stories, to inspire people. If something is not going okay today, if you went through atrocities, so that you know you are alive. That's what counts right now. So without going through a lot of details, let's start. How are you? How did you get here to United States?
Oh, good. Before we actually go on, I think we should mention that we're filming on both cameras, my camera and Rosine's camera. So you're gonna see our eyes like, looking different directions because we're trying to catch both cameras. But I just wanted to mention that so people don't think that we're not paying attention to the camera. But going back to your question.
Oh, I'm talking about how did you get here? Like, what is your story?
Oh, okay. So getting here for me was definitely a journey, because I came to America not by choice. I was a kid, first of all, but I came here because I was a refugee. I came through the resettlement program for refugee people. So yeah, that's how I got here.
What happened? What made you a refugee in the first place?
Yeah, so what made me a refugee was there was war back home, and we were not safe. Obviously, we went through a lot of stuff before we can even come to America. And so because of the war, we found ourselves in America after we went through a long time being in prison. And then getting out of prison, we were able to go through a process through the program, the refugee program they were offering at the time, and that's how we got here.
I'm sorry to hear about the prison part. Can you share a little bit about the life in prison, what happened, and how did you get there, and how did you get out there?
Yeah, of course. So before prison, actually, we used to live in Bujimai, and so my father was a businessman. He sold cows, which a lot of people from my community did. So we lived fine. Like, I was a kid, I didn't see anything wrong at the time, because I was young. I didn't notice anything, but some of the things that I can remember was I used to go to school. I think I started like kindergarten, and so, but one day my mom and my big sister went to the store. They went to the store like a normal day. There was nothing wrong, and I remember that night they didn't come back. And my dad was out of town doing business, and my older brother was in school in Lubumbashi. And so it was just me and my other older siblings, and we were home, and my mom didn't show up, and my sister, for the longest time, and we got worried, but we didn't know what to do. And so later on that night, that's when the soldiers came. They came and broke into our house. We heard them coming, so everybody kind of ran in the rooms to go pretend like we were sleeping. So we pretended like we were sleeping, but they still broke in the house and just started kicking everything, and just coming into the rooms and like pulling us out of our rooms, waking us up. I remember we didn't even take anything with us. It was just the clothes we had on. They put us in a pickup truck, and they did that to us and many other families from my community. And so, yeah, that's kind of how we started. And so after picking up all the other families, which there's a lot in between that we can't really go into details because it'd be a long story, but we picked up all the other families, including my cousin's family and other like people from my community, like I mentioned. And so they took us to a prison, like a local prison, but it was a bunch of women. Like I would say all of us, we were about 90 people, mainly consist of women and children. And the men, they put them in a different room, like a different section for them, because for the men, the plan was for them to kill them. For the women, they kept us there, but the men, they would take them there,
And
knowing
just
that,
kill them.
yeah. And even they didn't kill them right there, they would torture them until some of them die maybe, or just keep torturing them until the day comes for them to be killed. So that's how we got to that first prison. It was in Bujimai, and then I would say a couple weeks later or a couple days, I'm not sure, they transfer us to a different, it was like a what do you call, like a military camp where a bunch of militaries and their families lived. And so that's where they took us, but the men stayed behind, and obviously they killed them. That includes my cousin, whose family we went together, his children and his wife. And remember that my mom and my big sisters, we still didn't know where they were. Yeah, we still didn't know where they were when they transferred us to a different region, like Kananga. That's what it's called, Kananga. And that's where we pretty much stayed for a year and 6 months.
Year, 6 months.
Year and 6 months.
Like, what was their life there inside?
It was a prison life. Like the way I compare it to is, if you know about the Holocaust, the life they were living in those concentration camp, that's pretty much the same thing for us.
Torture?
I wouldn't say they didn't beat us up. I don't remember getting beat for sure, but we were tortured in other ways. We were food. Yeah, we didn't have food, and or if they give us food, they will give you, like, can I use this as an example? They will give like a whole family, maybe a family of 8, a cup of rice or couple cups of rice, and yeah, and we had to pretty much fight for our survival. And they will let us go outside the camp to like go beg for food and work for people, like the
So you can have some money?
No money.
Just food, working for food?
I remember food, mostly was food. So majority of the kids, we became like, can I say slaves or maids for the families that lived there, the soldiers.
What age again, if you remember?
I was like 5 or 6, but I can remember most of it. But at the same time, I do talk to my family's siblings that were there, and we go through the stories, and I can see that I remember some of the things that I saw. Like they said, when you're a kid, the stuff that you see when you're a child, you still can remember in your adulthood. So yeah, we would like become servants of the families that lived there, whose husbands were working as soldiers, and we will go live in their home and become maids, or just go work for them and go home, so that maybe I can bring some flour or some meat, not meat, like vegetables to cook in Boga, to cook for the family. So we all did that as a kid. I remember my role was to go fetch water for the families.
And the water was at the bottom of a mountain or something?
Yeah, at the bottom of the mountain. You would just, walk and go fetch the water down there by yourself.
With a jerrycan, like gallon?
Yeah, like a jar, like a gallon of, like you see like the ones we have milk in here. Yeah, so, or bigger ones, like the yellow ones they have in Africa. So yeah, we would go fetch water and would just do other house chores for them. We became maids pretty much. And I remember one time, I would go on the street, my friend and I, like, he's a kid, we grew up together. We'll go on the street to beg for food, but we'll beg people who spoke Kinyarwanda. So I think he was the people that did the genocide in Rwanda, and they transfer over to Congo.
And I was gonna actually ask you, I didn't want to interrupt you, and I was processing the whole thing. 5 years old, fetching water, eating out of a mug, like a whole family of 9 or something.
Yeah.
Oof, I'm not gonna get emotional. It's not about me today, but
It's
I'm
okay.
just,
I mean, it doesn't have to be about you. You have to remember it's about being human.
Yeah.
Any human who hears something
it just
like
took
that
me
happen,
back to what we went through as a family.
Exactly.
Anywho, so the question, to go back a little bit earlier, what year was that when it all started?
So I believe the war started like in 98.
98.
Yeah.
And do you know, because you were in Congo, do you know soldiers, like what soldiers just took you, like loaded you in trucks and like...
I mean, I know it's the Congolese military.
Swahili.
They spoke Swahili, they spoke Lingala, because we could hear them, like we knew the languages too. So it was them until we got to Kananga, the military camp. Then we started hearing people who spoke Kinyarwanda. But they're like, I don't think they were soldiers. I don't remember them being soldiers. I remember going on the road where they were passing. It's like they were coming from work or something, right? So they had this road they usually pass. So we would go there to beg for food or something.
Were they in uniforms or
no,
like soldiers or
I
something?
don't remember them being in uniform. They were in regular clothes, but they spoke Kinyarwanda. And another confirmation that made me think, or us think, that these people, like, we didn't know I didn't know who they were. But one time I said to one of them, Papa nisaidie, meaning help me, like help me. And he chased me and said, Wanyenziwe, I had no idea what that meant.
I'm not gonna put theories that I'm not sure, but I can link those people with the people who fled the country after genocide, the army that lost the war, which is, do we call them FDR? I'm not gonna use any terms that I'm not sure of, but we know what happened after genocide because they lost after committing all the atrocities in Rwanda, so they fled and went to Congo. And getting back to what is happening in Congo and the conflict Congo and Rwanda, this is among the matters now that we are fighting, because so many Rwandans, Congolese, they don't accept that, but it's Rwandan Congolese slash.
Yeah.
They have both nationalities because they didn't even choose to be there.
So yeah.
Roots in colonialism when Rwanda was divided and some parts of Rwanda were added on Congo. So that is the conflict that is going on. And before I pass back the mic to you, so how long did you live in that life? Did you mention first camp? Did you go through other prison or something?
So the first prison we went to was like a local prison, like I mentioned. So we didn't stay there for too long. That's when we were transferred to the military camp, where the families of the military and the soldiers lived there. And this is where we stayed for 1 year and 6 months. And that's where we experienced all that I mentioned, including the guy who told me like Wanyenziwe, which I didn't know what it meant.
Cockroach.
Then I knew. I mean, I know it meant cockroach, but I couldn't relate. Like, why is he calling me that? As a kid, I had no idea. But now, when we got here and we learned about the 94 genocide in Rwanda and all those terms that were used, to identify the Tutsis. Okay, now I was like, oh, that's why they were calling me that, because obviously I am Tutsi. But at the time I didn't know what it meant. Because I was just asking for food. I said, Papa nisaidie, and he said, go away, Wanyenziwe, like you cockroach, go away. I was like, I went home and I told my family, we were just like, okay, I didn't know what it meant then, but now I understand. So that's pretty much what the life there was. We did lose people. We lost people. We saw them, lose their life in front of us just because, nutritional issues or being sick, not enough food, not enough medical attention. We didn't have help. So a lot of people lost their lives in front of us witnessing that as a child. You can imagine.
I am so sorry. Before we wrap up this part where we talk about how you were taken from your home, your own home comfort zone, to go to prison at 5 year old without knowing where you're going and without food, without everything. So for the next part, maybe it's gonna be about a little bit again about how did you get out there and how did you get here and what story behind the resilience and stuff. But for now, before we conclude this part, what would be your message out there to people who went through this and to people who continue to deny what is happening in Congo and the conflict there? What would be your main message, and what would be if there was a way to stop this, like what would be your request to the whole world?
Thank you for that question. I think that question needs to be discussed more often, especially by this generation like us, because I feel like the older generation don't understand. But if us, the younger generation, can come out and speak about it, which I choose to do, hoping that it's gonna help a lot of young people, because the future is for the youth, right? So I think it needs to be discussed, and I think that people need to believe this kind of stuff happened, because I'm sitting here not making up these stories. This happened to me and my family. We went through that whole year and 6 months of suffering for no reason, for just who I am, who God created me to be, who I was born. Like I didn't choose where to be born. I didn't choose what tribe, what country, who my parents are, but God chose me to be who I am. But we have other people who don't want to accept that, and so because they don't want to accept that, they're projecting their hate towards innocent life. Like a lot of innocent people die. Like I lost family members. We're still losing people because of who they are. So my message would be like, we're humans. We were all created in God's image. We need to respect each other. We need to love each other regardless of how I look, regardless my background, tribe. We're all we're all humans. And that's my message. Like, we should learn to love each other. Like being Congolese and being Rwandan is not like being Tutsi Congolese and being a Rwandan or a Tutsi is not a crime. Just like in America, do you see how we all live well with each other? We all from different backgrounds and tribes and countries, but you see how we are fine. Like I have so many friends. I have friends from all over the world, and we love each other because we're human. We bleed the same blood. So my message is treat each other with love and respect, not because you're from the same country, but because we're all humans.
Thank you, because I really appreciate you sharing the whole story. It's not even the whole story, because please stay tuned. We have part 2, because that is a light at the end of the tunnel, and we're gonna do part 2. And please stay tuned. I just want to thank you for being for willing to share, because you are a living voice. You are a living testimonies. People who take cameras hop on just to say nothing's happening, it's like twisting stories. Please, we have people who experience these things, and we wouldn't want it to keep happening anywhere in this world. So please, this is Your Story My Inspiration podcast. It's a little bit sensitive and emotional, and I am grateful for her sharing her story. It's really so being like vulnerable and stuff, but the message here is learning. Things happen. It's not like story you're making up or something like that. So stay tuned. We're getting back soon. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me, and let's keep speaking about these causes. We have kids that we're raising. We don't want our kids to grow up in the same way we grew up. So thank you so much for allowing me to come, and also allowing me to film on Life with Keza, which I'm gonna post also, but we will come back with part 2 like she said. But thank you, Rosine.
God bless you. Thank you.